Okay. Hey guys, can you tell me if you can see me? Hold on. I'm gonna put my. All right. Okay, cool. Yay, I'm live. I can see myself. Hey, what's up? All right, so this is my second time going live. As you guys know, I told you I'm a little bit of a spaz. Let me close this door. All right, so I didn't know how I wanted to go. Oh, you know what? Here. Let's see. All right. Tell me if this sound. Can you guys just do like a sound check for me? Does this sound okay? I'm trying this new external mic. Um, how does this sound? Hey Ella. Hey guys. Hey Abel. Hey Grammari. Did I say that right? Joy. What's up, guys? Does this sound okay? Sound checks out. All right, cool. All right, sweet. All right, so let me turn this down. All right, so I didn't know how I wanted to do this because this is such like a big topic. So I feel like it's just gonna be like an ongoing thing that I do like a bunch of lives on, and I kind of wanted to do like a pre-recorded video, but I just feel like this is such like a dimensional topic. I kind of like doing this live so that we can like have a conversation about it. So all right, so I went ahead and I took one for the team. Okay. And I want you guys to know that this is how much I'm willing to sacrifice for the cause. This is how committed I am. So I did something really traumatic. I've since had nightmares, but I did it in the name of sociology, of anthropology, and of gender critical feminism. I went ahead and I watched one of Buck Angel's porn videos. Yes, I did. My God, and was it something else? Holy shit. So, clearly I can't show that here, but I figured I can describe it. It was something else to say the least. So, how old is let me check to see how old this woman is. Buck Angel. Okay. So, all right. So her Wikipedia says Buck Angel is an American pornographic film actor, producer, and sex educator. He is the founder of the media production company Buck Angel Entertainment. God, it was like horrific. Well, don't worry, I'll get into it. A transsexual man, he received the 2007 AVN Award as Transsexual Performer of the Year. He now works as an advocate and educator, which we know just means he's like chronically online. And yeah. And he's like a freak show. It's like a sideshow. It's like the bearded woman. It's like everybody's like he's like a spectacle and everyone's like, ooh and how weird, you know. And that's really why this person gets any kind of money. Yeah, no, at least I did. I took one for the team. And I did it because I care about you guys. And I know that I didn't want any of you to have to subject yourself, but I knew that like if we're going to all talk about this person and understand the impact that they're having, we need to get to the core of what their content is. And by God, it was something I wish I could go back and scrub my eyeballs of, but we must talk about it. So, Buck Angel is a female to male, which we know is a misnomer because you can't change sex, but this is a female who has taken exogenous hormones to approximate the secondary sex characteristics of a male. Successfully, I'm not sure. She's had a double radical mastectomy, has been on exogenous hormones, I know, for at least a decade. And has gotten all kinds of like you can tell that like she kind of like came of age in the 90s. She has a bunch of like tribal tats and like armbands. I'm not gonna be petty here, but She's Irish. She has like a big, the words Irish boy, like kind of like in a tramp stamp. So, and and it's something as Exelansic is talked about. There are certain structures in, the male voice box, the male chest, the male kind of vocal area that females don't have, so that no matter how much testosterone females take, because she said there's something about like some sort of like weight, some structure that gives that true vocal quality that males have. That's why anytime if you ever listen to a trans-identified female who's been on testosterone for a long enough time to have had a vocal quality change in her voice, you'll notice that it sounds like somebody, I mean, you could have gotten the same effect if you smoked like 6 packs a day for like, 13 years straight. It's really similar. It's that kind of like, and it's because there's just certain, structures in the throat and in the chest that give a certain weight to the vocal cords that, women don't have. So she has that. And so one of the things that she kind of talks about is, all right, let's get into it real quick. So Trampa 101, Sex with My Vagina, was one that I really wanted to get into. So let's see. We're going to go through. This is on, and just for, it's Trampa 101, Sex with My Vagina. This is on Buck Angel's YouTube. And she has, hold on, let me bring this back up. So Buck Angel has, why does it turn off your guys' chat? Sorry, I just want to pull it up so I can just keep an eye on the chat. All right, so Buck Angel has, let's see, 100 or 10,000 subscribers, and she's got. So this video has 63,754 views. This was posted March 24th, 2019. Oh, what I wanted to look up, the reason why I was looking up her Wikipedia. Okay, so wow, she's 59 years old. So she was born in 1962, 59 years old. So my mom was born in 54. So, they are somewhat in the same age range. And then my dad was born in 55. So, yeah, wow, that's crazy. My dad's 7 years older and my dad is far more emotionally developed, unfortunately, than Miss Angel here. And I don't say that to just, I don't like just tearing people down and clowning them. Like, yeah, like sometimes it's funny. But like, that's really not the purpose. A lot of these people are really mentally ill. And the reason why it's important to put a highlighter on some of these characters, people like Buck Angel, is because of the hardcore, very aggressive advocacy. And I feel like because she's become such like a spectacle and is such like an identifiable figure, her tagline is "I'm the man with the vagina." She's so easily recognizable, and it really, it does. A lot of these trans-identified females or trans-curious females or even butch lesbians who are trying to understand if this whole gender ideology has has something for them and are looking and watching this person. And this is who they're getting information about. And unfortunately, it's like because, there's such a breakdown of the family. And I know some people get annoyed with me talking about that, but I do really still believe in, the nuclear family is really the keystone of society, and really extended family, if we could reinstate that. Because again, when you don't have a strong fundamental family fabric, a familial fabric, then these people are looking towards the mentors that they have, or it's either like government supplied mentors from schools, and that's where they're getting in their information from. Or they're looking out to anybody, and now kids have the internet at their fingertips. So it's like all of these people, and this is what I said on the Mr. Beard video. It's like if you wouldn't let your kids alone in a room to be tutored by one of these people, you shouldn't be letting them on the internet watching and interacting with them. It's the same thing. I mean, these are who are mentoring your children. This is where they're getting a lot of their education, their sex education, their life education. You know, it's crucial that parents really pay attention to what their kids are consuming and who they're interacting with online. And if you're not talking to your kids about sex, if you don't have strong core family values around, sexuality and relationships and sort of this sort of sacredness of your body, then kids are so prone to buy into this other bullshit because there's a void and they're filling it with people like Buck fucking Angel. All right, so enough of that. So anyway, so here is, let's watch this god awful video. Sorry, I want to keep the chat up. All right, so tell me if you guys can hear this.
Hi kids, it's another Tramp Ball 101. Today we're going to talk about something that I have always felt is very important to a successful transition, and that is sex. I'm not really...
Real quick, real quick sound check. How does it sound? Can you guys hear the video okay? Hey, Dragon Kid again. Can you guys hear? I know, but fucking Angel. I know. Sorry. I know, it's like awful. Can you listen? Just tell me if you guys I'm still like learning the whole live thing, so sorry. You guys are just gonna have to like help me with technical issues. Tell me how the video sounds.
Really sure why we have this issue about talking about sex in our community. Trust me, it's always been like that.
Okay, raise your hand if you have like an aunt who sounds like this. Like an aunt who's been like a stone cold alcoholic and has smoked like 17 packs of like Newport 100s a day. Like I really feel like if you're on like the cheaper end of things and you can't get the testosterone script, like you can achieve the same effect if you're smoking like 17,000 cigarettes, in like a 2-year span. All right, sorry. I'm gonna stop being petty. Here we go. It is Popeye.
It's not something new.
Ava goes, I don't have any ants like this. Oh, you don't? I thought we all did. Never mind.
I think people in general have a hard time talking about sex. That said, I think it's a lot harder for trans people to talk about sex, and specifically I'm going to talk about trans.
Palm all unfiltered. I can't. All right, stop. I'm not even gonna read the chat. Yo, it's totally Palm all unfiltered. Especially when you get the like 4-pack deal. Okay, if you buy like a 6-pack of like Bud Light with. Stop. All right, guys, it's time to be serious. All right, back to Popeye. Da 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 da.
Man, because that's what I am and that's what I know. And again, I'm going to use my own personal stories and my own personal journey of finding my space sexually in order...
Totally Patty and Selma from Simpsons. Oh, Abel, your voice is totally normal. You are not the weird Patty and Selma aunt from The Simpsons. You are not Popeye. I assure you. I've heard your voice. You're all good. Poor Bucky over here did not fare so well.
For you to understand why I believe sex is an important part of our journey to becoming men or becoming people who have finally found our space and are comfortable in our bodies.
Okay, and here's the saddest part I think about all of this is because some of what she says is almost enlightened. And I think what breaks my heart, it's like she kind of got close to some really important things, but because so much, I think she had already been, really latched on to this trans sex. So we're basically, what she's going to do is she's going to talk about how, as a kid, she was really into like boy stuff. So I think like a lot of these people, especially who kind of identify themselves as trans from the time that they're younger, it's people who buy into not being male or, if you're a female, or being female if you're a male. Because there's so much about that you don't fully understand. But it's It's the construct. You want to do the things. It's even like, what Matt Walsh said. If you ask a child, well, what's a girl? You'll find out they want to do the things that girls do. And same thing, it sounds like with her, all she describes is wanting to do the things that boys were allowed to do. I was like that. And I think one thing about me is I'm really like mixed. Yeah, I present as really feminine, but like you can see like my behavior. I guess whatever, some what would be like seen as male socialized behavior. Not saying that there is like female and male behavior, but um, and I think that it doesn't mean, so as she'll discover was that it wasn't being male that she wanted, because she had always had just this weird, because she was so attached to these male or masculine kind of social constructs of things and toys and ways to present, that she had a really bizarre and disconnected relationship with her body. Oh, here, I'm going to move my things. Look, because it's in the background. And I want you guys to notice too, the whole time, look, see right here, whole time she keeps saying like kids, oh, you kids, and da-da-da. So this part, when we say she's a groomer, very much is talking to children and will constantly say kids, kids, kids. So take note of that. But, and like, come on, bro. Like, come on. Like, ew. So yeah, so she talks a lot about being really attached to these like boy sort of things, and she has two other sisters, and I guess a way that she kind of stands out from them is like, oh, my parents would buy them Barbies and buy me the GI Joe, and my parents were cool with me being gender nonconforming, da, da, da. And so she clearly, identifies with these boy things, and then I think because she had in her mind that to do those things and to like those things, you actually means that you're not like other girls. I guess I'm not like other girls. And if I'm not like other girls, well, maybe I'm just not a girl, maybe I'm really a boy. And if I could be a boy, then I could just like these things and it would all come naturally, and I could be surrounded with other people that like these things, because I would find a community of that's what I gravitate towards. And so it seems to have led to a really complex relationship with her body, to the point, and this is a point that I've made, and so this is like one area that I agree with her, is that she never ever touched herself. And as somebody who was a birth worker for many years, I've worked with literally hundreds of families and hundreds of women. And birth is so inseparable from sex and sexuality. I mean, there are 2 points, and I think that's something that is it's almost so obvious, but then it's so like we've so divorced, the creation of family and having children and birth. It's this big wholesome thing, and it's like so hidden and shamed from the fact that it's all rooted in sex. I mean, every mother, other than moms who had ART, but every mother, mother is rooted in sexuality and having sex. So, so anyway, I've talked to so many mothers and so many women who have even reached the point of motherhood and having never masturbated or never having touched themselves. And these moms have a very difficult time birthing, because so much of natural birth and birthing without assistance, birthing without cesarean section, and birthing without, requires just a release, a letting go, such a comfort with your body. If you were to listen to totally unmedicated natural birth, right, and you were to turn off the screen and only listen to the audio, it sounds like a porn. It sounds like porn almost. It's the moaning, the guttural, the vocalizations that women make during unmedicated birth are nearly identical. The vocalizations that they make during sex and orgasm. And what's interesting too is that the hormonal interplay that happens during birth and during the ultimate expulsion is identical to the hormonal interplay that occurs during sex and orgasm. You literally, it's two, they mirror each other. So if you're disconnected with your body sexually to even, conceive, you are going to be disconnected with your body through birth, which again, birth is on the same sexual continuum as sex and conception. So women, a lot of times we have to do a lot of work, and especially women who are survivors and victims of sexual abuse, there's a lot of trauma work that has to be done. Because a lot of women, especially survivors and especially survivors of childhood sexual trauma, are very tense and clenched and holding in and wanting to keep their legs closed and wanting to protect their bodies. It's very naturally defensive. But you can't birth that way. You have to open, you have to release, you have to vocalize. And listen, I'll get into this in another video, but it's another reason why I'm so strongly advocate for home birth for women for whom it is possible and appropriate. Home birth is not possible for every family, and it's not appropriate for every family, but it's appropriate and possible for more women than who are currently seeking it. And so for those that it is a safe and reasonable option for, women who are medically sound and even, emotionally comfortable with the idea, the one benefit of being in a home setting is you are free to vocalize. You're free to just be nude. You're free to release without having I remember when I've had 3 home births. I had 2 unassisted births. The first one was accidentally unassisted. And my first one was in a hospital. And I labored at home for a long, long time. And I was so comfortable. I was in my bathtub. I was just moaning and just kind of going with the rhythm of my body. As soon as I got to the hospital, they checked me and I was about 8.5 centimeters dilated. You have to dilate to a full 10. And I stalled out at I got maybe another half a centimeter until I stalled out at about 9 centimeters for hours. And it was so difficult for me because I couldn't move the way I wanted to. I had IVs in me. I had to change into these weird clothes. I had people coming in and out of the room. My dad and my brother. And God bless them. But they came in the room and my brother works for my dad. My brother's older. And they were chit-chatting. They were both wearing their work outfits. And they were chit-chatting about some new client that they were getting. I was like, are you guys fucking kidding me right now? And I told my husband at the time, I was like, yo, can you tell them to leave? Because I'm I don't want to start any, I was just so mind blown. But it's who the hell, and then it's you have people, and then I would have this one guy who kept coming in to talk to me about circumcising my son. I was like, can you get out? And it's you have to be able to release, you have to be able to open up. So anyway, so I say all that to say that I've talked to so many women and I've had to work with so many women. And it's so crucial that as midwives and birth workers and doulas that we have to talk to women about past sexual trauma and also the sort of their comfort with sex and their comfort with their sort of sex bodies. Because women with sexual trauma can often present complications during birth that we need to be aware of. And, cortisol, it inhibits and it blocks oxytocin. Oxytocin is released by the pineal gland and it is necessary for smooth muscle contraction, which is necessary for uterine contractions. It has to be able to push down. If you are flooded with your adrenal glands and are activated, and if you're flooded with stress hormones, it'll block the oxytocin. And then that's when all of a sudden they'll say, okay, you're stalling out. Now the baby's having problems. We need to go and augment your labor with Pitocin, which is synthetic oxytocin. The problem with synthetic oxytocin with Pitocin is that it is because it's synthetic and because it's at such a high dose, it parks up all of your brain's natural oxytocin receptors, so it doesn't actually receive the oxytocin itself, and it has a different impact on the brain and the body, right? So, and a lot of times it can cause such unnaturally strong uterine contractions that then the baby becomes compromised and becomes hypoxic. And then that can lead to a cascade of interventions. It can often lead to the OR. So, knowing how much stress can intervene and cause severe complications with the birthing process, we need to talk to women about, well, what is your sexual trauma history? because if we can't get to the core of that, chances are they're going to have a difficult time birthing. And it's the same thing with sex. You can't open up sexually, especially to these like this is another thing that I think hookup culture is just so fucking toxic. But to have to like open up, to truly open yourself up to somebody that you hardly know, I think is traumatic. First of all, I think as women it absolutely traumatizes. I think casual sex is just traumatizing to women, period. And that's something else that we can talk about. But anyway, so she's going to talk about how for a long time in her life, and I don't know if she tells us when it was that she finally, but penetrated herself. So for a long time in her life, she said she was not able to touch her vagina, I guess because of the dysphoria, and because she so connected and associated herself with these masculine things that she felt like to really be a part of that and to be seen the way she wanted to be seen, she had to be a man. And, being a man, fundamentally, you don't have a vagina. No men have vaginas. So she talks about never wanting to touch her own vagina. And that this big eureka moment for her was when she said she would jack off. So I guess, I don't know, this had to have been when she had started T, because when you take testosterone, it causes clitoral growth. And it's, so you're like, if you've ever Googled pictures and you can see your clitoris becomes almost like a micro penis and begins to look like one. And I've seen her do it in the video, in the porn video that I watched. She like jacks it off. And I guess that's the only way that she would masturbate. And so she said that one day she was jacking off her clitoris, I guess externally, and she like slipped some fingers inside herself. And she was like, I had the greatest orgasm of my life. It rocked my world. I literally cried afterwards. I like saw God. And it sounds like she had the first orgasm of her life, which unfortunately I feel like is very common. A lot of women don't orgasm so much later in life. So rather than, here, let's watch a little bit more because there's so much more to say. Basically, that's the moment she decided that she didn't want to get phalloplasty and that she wanted to keep her vagina. Was the first time she actually touched and interacted with it. And it was this like eureka moment. She had the best orgasm of her life. And rather than realizing that, oh my God, I'm not a man, I've just had a very fractured relationship with my own female body. She'd already built this brand around being a transgender man that now, I'm a man with a vagina. And now I can turn that into some lucrative thing rather than just being honest. Like, oh shit, I finally realized what's been wrong with me this whole time. So it's very aggravating. It's like she almost reaches this point of truth and enlightenment, but she's just too narcissistic to actually get there and be honest.
You're not going to be totally comfortable in your body by just removing your breasts or adding a penis or getting muscles or growing a mustache.
Oh, you're not? You're not? Then why the fuck are we paying for all of this shit in Medicare or Medicaid? Why? I thought that was the whole point. I thought that's the big magic solution that everybody will be happy. We don't even need therapy anymore. They're not, Abel will tell you, they don't even sit with you and talk to you anymore and help you kind of reestablish and realign with your body. No, we just need the surgeries and then everything will be better. I thought, I'm so confused, Buck. Please break it down some more.
Or beard or getting hairy body or talking lower or all the things that are masculine and male characteristic. I really believe that you're just not going to be fully transitioned until you connect sexually with your new body. And even with the body you have today, I'm also a believer of connecting to the body that you don't necessarily like right now, but you know eventually you will change. I wish somebody would have told me that prior to transitioning, to learn how to accept the body that you have today, because it's the same body you will have tomorrow.
Yes! Well, would you look at that, Buck? Holy fucking shit. Yes. You do have the same body, no matter how many body parts you chop off, no matter how many prostheses you create organically or through some other kind of foreign body that you insert into yourself or foreign object? Yes. Yes. Your body prior to transition is the same body that you'll have after transition. Yes, you can never become a man. You will always be a female. Like, why couldn't you have stopped there? Why are you still standing beside and knowing that you would spared yourself so much trauma? And this is what makes me so frustrated with this person in particular and a lot of these like gender critical transgender people or transsexual people. It's like they realized and figured it out to spare themselves the pain and agony of true medical transition. They realized, she realized if I got a phalloplasty, I would ruin my ability to ever function sexually ever again. Ever again. And it was like this kind of like, oh my God, this fear, this kind of like, oh shit. Like, it's like she was kind of walking up to the cliff and ready to jump off. And then all of a sudden looked down and realized, whoa, 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 like snapped out of it just in time. Like, oh no, I don't want this. But it's too cowardly and too weak to stop and tell everybody, stop, wait, hold on, no, nobody else go forward. I see what's down there and it's not what we want. No, everybody stop. No, she's selfish and realizes that this whole transgender brand is so lucrative. To turn her back entirely on the trans cult, she'll lose. She'll be one of us. She'll be a marginalized. She'll be an outcast. She'll be a leper. I mean, they already go after her for being like transphobic just for even admitting that alone. And she had an opportunity to protect other girls, and she didn't take it. Instead, she decided to capitalize on it in the most disgusting way possible by starting a porn career and working with an industry that destroys the lives of women and girls, that is it is destroying men and boys' ability to function sexually, to connect with partners. It's destroying relationships. It is funneling the sex trafficking industry. It is funneling black market after black market. It has led to the rise in BDSM, in rape culture, and that was your big. It's so frustrating. She had this amazing opportunity to stop and be like, oh my God, I realize now I was so fractured from my own body. And it was like she saved herself from that, but stopped short of making sure that no other child, no other girl, no other woman took that path. It was like she quick snuck off while everybody's still flying off the cliff. Like, shame on you, yo.
This is a misconception that you kids don't understand. It's the same body.
That you kids. That's who she's talking about. Please be very, very clear. She's talking to children.
You're just removing your breasts, or you're adding a penis, or you're keeping your vagina, or you're taking testosterone, or you're not taking testosterone. All of these things are still in the same body you have right now. And that is also sexually. I want to tell you a little story. And that story is about how I actually got connected to my vagina.
Here we go. So she's going to tell us this like fairly gruesome story about how she like slipped a finger in or whatever. Let me check on the chat. No, you're right. Stop using the word transition. Say mutilation. No, it is. It is mutilation. It's total body mutilation. It is. You cannot transition. Period. Okay. So sex reassignment surgery is a misnomer. Okay. Gender confirmation, and it's like I like how they changed it to gender confirmation because it's like, oh well, we can confirm your gender, which we all know is this abstract, bizarre thing. So it's just some like weird approximation. It is cosmetic surgery that mutilates healthy body parts in the aim of approximating the opposite sex. It will never, ever, ever function as the opposite sex. And it's actually the reason why a lot of these trans identified females will use the term trans mask or trans masculine. And I think it's because they're a little bit less delusional than some of the trans identified males, and they know that they don't pass, and they know how like embarrassing it is to try to claim. I've never heard boy vagina. Well, actually, I guess with this guy I have. The same way that we hear the word girl dick. So they'll say it's funny, and I've watched a lot of videos of trans identified females, and they don't feel comfortable calling themselves men. The same way that trans identified men will say, trans women are women, actual women. I'm a woman. I'm a girl. I'm this. You always say, oh, I'm trans masculine or guy. Guys like me. They'll use a guy or mask or dude. Like, they don't say man as much. She does. She does. But a lot of the other ones, because again, they know it's an approximation. They know. First of all, okay, like I'm bisexual. I have sex with men. Okay, nobody is gonna be able to pull off a phalloplasty and be like, oh God, oh, I was stealthed. I didn't know. Like, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, get that the hell away from me. That just looks like a bag of infection. So yeah, no, you're right. It's not transition whatsoever.
As a man. Prior to transitioning, I did not like my vagina. I did not really like to have sex unless I was high on drugs or alcohol. The lights were off. Maybe I had my clothes on. Or if I didn't have my clothes on, it was because I was so high and wasted that I didn't even know I didn't have my clothes on. So it didn't really matter. That said, connecting to your body without drugs and alcohol, or being very present in your body when you are sexually active, is one of the most important things. As you all might know, I created products, which we'll get to in a minute, specifically for this particular reason. So I really was not connected to my body at all when I was.
Over and over and over again, she's going to tell us how disconnected she was from her body, how ashamed and just creeped out she was by her own vagina. And it's so like I was reading I don't know if you guys have ever seen the r/gender cynical, and it like makes fun of I guess gender critical ideas and whatever. And there was like a whole thread talking about how gender critical feminists and gender critical people in general infantilize trans men, and will say, oh yeah, they're just self-hating lesbians, or they're just, you know, like internally misogynist, and it's so insane. But tell me how that's not true. She's literally telling us over and over and over again, I couldn't connect to my body. I had bought into an idea that the only way to like the things that I liked, to live the way that I wanted to live, to kind of be how I wanted to be, was that I had to be a man. And the only way, and she knows, the only way to be a man is to have a penis, unless you can redefine what a man is. Unless you can redefine what a man is. Then you can be a man without a penis. Then you can be a man with a vagina. Then you can be a man with an XX genotype. Aha! You still didn't get it, did you, Buck? You almost got there. You almost got there. Almost realized how important it is for women to have a healthy, connected relationship with their bodies. To know that their bodies are correct the way that they are. It's the same way that so many young women are getting vaginoplasty. And it's ruining their sensitivity. Oh, it's so sad. It's because now, and you're contributing to it, Buck. Because so many women are seeing, their partners are all porn addicted, and they're so tired of catching their partners locked in the bathroom, jerking off, watching Pornhub, while she hasn't been touched in weeks. And he's saying, well, what do these women have that I don't have going on? Looking at, I know my vulva doesn't look like any of these girls on Pornhub. Fuck no. Okay, fuck no. And I swear to God, I think I was like 18 or 19. I looked up vaginoplasty, or I mean, I'm sorry, labiaplasty. And then all I had to read was that there's a potential loss of sensation. I was like, yeah, fuck out of here. It is not that serious to me. But for some of these girls who haven't experienced pleasure before, who have never really had an orgasm, who don't know how to masturbate, who feel weird about masturbating, who've never really, it sounds like she never really experienced the full range of pleasure. Again, because so many women are just fed this lie that as women, we're only here to exist to just provide pleasure, to just be these passive sex objects. You know, how many heterosexual women have had sexual relationships where when the man orgasms, sex is done. That's it. Fuck wherever you are. Fuck it, if you've climaxed or if you're done, it's it. That's it. How many girls have had sexual relationships where there's no foreplay? There's no, so a lot of girls, yeah, are so willing to sacrifice sexual functioning and pleasure and sacrificing their own clitorises because they haven't gotten to experience that yet. Because that the only goal, the only purpose of their sexuality is to be a sex object for somebody else to use. That's so sad. It's so sad. It's like she almost got there and then just went fucking like the worst possible left. Ugh. Here we go.
Female and transitioning to male. I was having a very hard time understanding my body. Back in the day, 23 years ago, we didn't have what we have today. I'll keep reminding you kids that. And not because I want you to think anything other than the fact that you must understand the privilege you have today. The internet is a huge privilege. YouTube is a huge privilege. The fact that all you kids from around the world get to talk to each other about your own transitioning, comparing.
No, Buck, no. Kids are not lucky because they have groomers like you who are going to indoctrinate them into this dangerous self-harm cult. No. And this is another thing. She always talks about like the reason why she's a porn star is because, she felt like other people didn't have the opportunity to see men like her who had bodies like her, and she wanted to be like a great example for trans-identified men, or trans-identified females, so you can see, some men have vaginas and stuff like that. No, why? So they can see how you mutilated yourself. And like, spoiler alert, okay, the video that I watched, it was like her and this, I'm gonna do a pre-recorded video and show the intro. It's her fully clothed and talking about like she does like a little like pre-porn interview, and I'm gonna like dissect that because that I can. But the video of the video itself is like her and this like much younger man. He literally looks like he's probably could be like her son or a grandchild's age. It was so awkward. It was so painful to watch. Oh God, it was so awkward. This is the type of sex that she's putting on display is not what children should be seeing. It is not even close to a healthy, positive, like loving, female centric. You know what the funniest part is too? As much of a man as she is, she literally still played the female role, the quintessential. She was the one, the guy was literally laying on his back like this, just like kind of jerking off a little bit. And she was just racing around the whole time, bending over backwards, trying to please this guy and like moaning and doing all this stuff and putting on like just such a performance. It looked exhausting. He didn't touch her. Not once. It's funny, you've done all this to transition to a man, and yet you're still performing as the woman in the porn role. It's still the same, misogynistic, anti-woman, anti-female sexuality, just gruesome display. And all it does is reinforce to girls, whatever they look like, whether they've cut their tits off, whether they've taken testosterone, they still have the same job. And that is to bend over backwards for the pleasure of their male partner. It is still to sit there and just exhaust yourself trying to get him off. And I didn't see any indication whatsoever that she climaxed during this whole thing. It was literally just a spectacle trying to get off her male partner. And all that does is send the message that whether you are feminine or masculine, you still play the same misogynistic role in sex. And it was heartbreaking to watch. Nothing about it was empowering. It like made me want to cry. This is not the sort of sex that women and girls should be forced into having. And this is when I understand fully why people want to be totally celibate and get away from this. It was just looked just draining and degrading and just sad. And the guy, and it was said he like kept his eyes closed the whole time. You could tell he wanted like nothing to do with the whole thing. Anyway.
Notes, figure out, it's like a car club. Let's figure out who's got a better engine and how can I make my engine that way, or paint my car, or put those tires on. It's the same kind of thing that I would say is sort of like how to sort of get together, join together in camaraderie, and share stories with each other about how we can make each other better. This is why I really want to do this for you kids. So you don't have to take any of what...
Yeah, hey, Buck, let me help you out there. Female bodies are not cars. Vaginas and breasts, these are not just like a mix and match of parts. It's not taking an engine out. A vaginectomy is not the same as removing an engine, okay? Lubrication, oh my God. No, it's not at all like that. It's not at all like that. And didn't you just say that our bodies before we transition and after we transition are still the same body? You can hack them all up all you want. And no, you can't add body parts. You can't add body parts. You can't add a penis. You can't add a vagina. You can't add breasts. The breasts that those males have, those are not breasts. Those are implant devices. They are spherical implant devices. That's it. That's not a breast. You're not adding body parts. You're not growing anything. Those are not mammary glands. Gruffin's ween is not a penis. The little balls that they implant, those are not testicles. No, you cannot mix and match parts. No. This is so dangerous and it's so sad. Oh, and again, and it's true. So many of us grew up hating our body. I was always so tall. I'm like 5'9". I was huge. I've always been told I have man hands. I have like a big nose. Yeah, if as a kid someone told me that I could mix and match parts, that I could legitimately do that, take stuff off, take it on and off, like, yeah, of course that's exciting. These kids don't understand. When you guys talk about like phalloplasty and vaginoplasty, they really believe that you can construct a vagina. They really believe that puberty blockers is puberty blockers, not puberty interrupters. A puberty blocker is such a misnomer. Lupron interrupts puberty. Lupron distorts puberty. Lupron damages and suppresses. It doesn't block shit. It doesn't pause shit. Your body's still growing. Now you're just throwing everything out of whack. No, and it's so, you learned nothing, did you? You learned nothing. Nothing. The takeaway should have been, oh my God, I've lived my whole life thinking that to like and to do all these things that I had to become a man. But you know what? I have this beautiful sexuality. I have this healthy body that I almost hacked up and I almost traded in my body, natural functioning so that I could approximate an appearance, because we're so obsessed with appearance. We're so obsessed with what things look like, with the materialism of things, that you also wanted to be a sex object. A penis is just an object. You almost got there and you decided to become a fucking porn star instead. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for cursing so much. It's like, it makes me like emotional. It makes me emotional, and I worry about, what my kids will, oh God. I'm worried about like what my kids are going to see. I worry about the women who have been harmed by this. It breaks my heart. All right, here we go.
What I'm telling you personally, or for yourself, or you can take it all. Whatever you want to do. I'm just sharing stories because I love you kids a lot and I care about you kids a lot and I really want to see.
You hear the love bombing? I love you guys. I know your parents probably don't get you the way that tramp Pa Buck gets you. Okay? I know that mom and dad, they're just not, they don't want to let you get on T, but you know what? Trampa's here for you. All you got, just join my gang. Here's my fucking poster in the back. You can order it for $14.99. Trampa Buck. Dude, get your kids off the internet. I love you. Ew.
You connect with your body because it's the thing that changed my fucking life. Sex changed my life. So, I didn't like my body. I didn't feel comfortable in it sexually. But as I was transitioning and using testosterone, and my libido got heightened. And again, I also want to touch on this libido thing and testosterone. We're not all the same. I've done hundreds of videos with you kids out there talking about transitioning and how it affected your libido and how you feel sexually. Not all of you get a heightened libido. That's not, so we also need to stop pressuring all of us to say that we have to feel really horny because we're taking testosterone. No, you don't. And no, you might not. Again, we're all individuals, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And the thing is, technically more free floating testosterone in the system. That's why it's funny, because when a lot of women, postmenopausal women, and especially women who are still perimenopausal, when I'll say things like, or when we talk about the fact that ultimately in menopause, you do lose your sex drive. And a lot of early menopausal women and perimenopausal women will say, that's not true. I still have a really high sex drive. And the reason why it feels that way, and the reason why that there is a temporary spike, is because once your estrogen plummets and starts to end, you're still producing testosterone. So you still have a lot of free floating testosterone in your body. And there's a lot of strong evidence to say that it's testosterone which really drives sex drive. It's also the reason why men are like insatiable. Um, but eventually those levels will start to bottom down too. And also the fact, I mean, that she's a lot older, so she probably would have been menopausal anyway. So yeah, she has all this like, free floating testosterone, but like, let's talk about the other things. Like when I saw in the porn video, you had this massive bottle of lube. Why is that? Estrogen is what is needed for the vagina to self lubricate. I noticed that you had to keep applying new lube. You talk about the fact that, oh God, I'm so sorry, guys, and I'm really sorry. Like if any of this is like gruesome or like TMI, but another thing that I noticed, and listen, this guy's penis was like a decent size. It wasn't like monster cock. Sorry, I'm gonna like try to not use like really inappropriate language. The guy that I saw her having P and V sex with had just like a normal, maybe slightly larger than average penis. He was tall, but not like some like oh my god. But I also noticed that when he was laying on the bed and she was like riding him. I'm so sorry, yo, guys. I'm so sorry. There are some important points here. I promise. This is not just to be gratuitously gross. When she was like riding him, he wasn't fitting all the way inside of her. Okay, and he definitely wasn't that big that a substantial portion of his penis should not have been able to fit into her if she was a normal vagina. Again, vaginas are like accordions, okay? They stretch, they can accommodate a baby's head, you know? Usually what stops it is the top of the cervix. But we know, like in menopause, like what I'm probably going to experience and what she certainly has experienced, and as I can see she's experienced, is vaginal atrophy. The vagina starts to narrow. It's a reason why women who have had transpelvic radiation, like me, or who are in menopause, have to dilate. I have to dilate a lot the same way that like Jazz has to dilate. The difference is that I don't have scarring and that my vagina is meant to stretch. The sort of skin that he has there is not meant to stretch and will eventually scar, especially because it's inflamed. But when you've had transpelvic radiation, the radiation damages a lot of the skin cells and it damages the collagen. And if you don't dilate, your vagina will atrophy down to the point where sex will be very painful, and I wouldn't be able to accommodate having penetrative sex. So it sucks, but yeah, it's like, so, again, she's not talking about the reality of these things. Like, hey, by the way, you're not going to be able to self lubricate. And we know that when a vagina can't self lubricate, it makes it more difficult to clean itself. We also know that, she's advocating for a lot of very casual sexual encounters. And when a vagina cannot self lubricate, it also makes it more likely to tear. And when it's more likely to tear, you're at a higher risk for, to catch STDs. Like, for example, there is like 8 layers of tissue in the vagina. Okay, and it has a mucosa layer that protects it from infection. And there's a reason why um, vaginal transmission. So there's a reason why transmission of HIV is more difficult vaginally than it is anally, because the anal cavity only has 1 layer, right? Whereas the vagina has somewhere between like 7 or 8, and it has several mucosa layers that are meant to clean and protect it from infection. But when it starts to thin, the walls start to thin, and especially once you start to lose estrogen, because again, it's a sex hormone. It is meant to maintain the vagina. It interacts with the vagina in many ways that we might not even realize. But one of the ways is to maintain the walls of the vagina, to keep them supple, to keep them stretching, to keep the mucosa healthy, to keep itself lubricated, to keep and that helps keep bacteria out. It keeps infection away. It keeps the walls from ripping apart. And once they start to rip apart, once they're not naturally self lubricating, you're greatly increasing the risk of infection, STIs, all kinds of infection. I mean, it's not even testosterone itself. It's not without consequence. And she's talking to children. This person is talking directly to children. Yeah, I called her a groomer, and I remember I called her a groomer, and I kind of like went off of like what I'd seen from like Karen, but then I was like, well, like, okay, so I know that she's promoting sex toys and all that's filth and whatever, but like, what do we know that she's like directly? No, she's directly talking to children. Like, groomer is absolutely the right word.
It's all of us. Not all of our transitions are going to be the same, but we might share characteristics.
Yeah, yours isn't, because you fucking stopped short before you did any real harm. And rather than try to protect other young girls from doing the same, you're like, oh, well, some of you will really want the penis. I just chose the non-penis model because I realized that my vagina had a really fun pleasure button that I got to hit. Like,
of this. thing. And that's what we need to talk about. But we're not all going to be horny, crazy men running around wanting to hump everything. Or we might not have any sex drive. Who knows? That could also be part of your brain. But what I really think is important is connecting. So again, I keep getting sidetracked because I really want you kids to hear me right now. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to feel it, but I was getting those feelings and it was freaking me out. So I decided that I wanted to start, touching myself and I couldn't help it. So I didn't have a partner.
Okay, so if anybody saw my post yesterday, I posted a screenshot of a DM that I had with a girl who follows me on Instagram who had messaged me and was talking about, I'm gonna pull up, in fact, that a lot of female, because we're born with our clitorises, and our clitorises are always able to activate from the time that we're very young. Young female, and this was turned into like a big controversial thing on my Instagram. And people really took so clitoris, young children can have an orgasm. And there were some women who were really against talking about that because I guess they felt like, it's inappropriate to sexualize children. And I want to be clear, I don't mean in the sense that young children are sexually mature and they're able to engage in sex. It's the fact that, and they're like, well, how do you know it's sexual? An orgasm is inherently sexual. And the fact is that, young children, young girls can experience orgasm at a much earlier age than young boys can. It's another reason why they absolutely need to be protected. And it's another reason too why I really believe that if there's a disruption, a lot of women that I've talked to, like I said, and I've worked with a lot of women, a lot of pregnant women, birthing women, breastfeeding women, and anytime I'm going through intake, I always talk about sexual trauma and sexual history. And a lot of times it'll go through even just, women will talk about, their first orgasm, their first sexual experience. And it is very normal and very common for young girls as early as 5, 6 to experience an orgasm. And it doesn't mean that these girls understand what sex is or they don't attribute it to sex. It's from the most common thing that I've heard is girls experiencing it from like a water jet. And I know for me that was the case. And I felt so weird. Yo, do you guys understand? For so many years, I was like, how, like, am I nuts? Is there something wrong with me? And I was like, and because I knew, like as a kid, I was like, I used to kind of like play with the water jet in my bathtub when I was alone because it felt really good. And I know for a fact I had an orgasm and it like blew my mind. And I remember feel later as I learned more about like what sex was and all this stuff, I started to feel really ashamed and like really weird. And I was like, oh my God, like was that wrong? And then also I had gone to like a Episcopalian school and was doing like Catholic stuff. And then I thought that I was like bad and dirty. And I went through this like really like just freaked out phase where I was really freaked out that I had done that. And it wasn't until I was like much older, like an adult, like in my 20s, and when I had started getting into my birth work, that I realized that that's actually really common. And it was this like huge relief that I was like, oh my God. So I'm not weird. I'm not like some kind of like perverted freak or something like that. And then so it was like on the one hand, I talked to a lot of women who had very similar experiences to mine as children. Now, I was really lucky to have, I've had sexual trauma, but it didn't come till later in life. I was very, very lucky to have had a very safe, kind of protective childhood, and my parents always kind of gave me space. Like I had my own bedroom, they would let me like take a bath by myself. And so when I was able to explore this stuff, I kind of was able to do it in like like layers of privacy, and it's not like, my parents ever walked in and saw me doing it, like yelled at me or, it was just kind of this thing that I don't know. I experienced and then would just go about my day. And I didn't know what sex was. I had no idea that it was a very solo thing. It was a very just like me, like touching my own body. So I talked to, as I started getting more into birth work and I talked to other women, and a lot of women had very similar experiences to mind. But on the other hand, there was a lot of women who not only never had that experience, but some women who had never had an orgasm. There's some women who I talked to who had, for example, one of the women who I had worked with was in her 40s, had two children, who had been married and I think, for 10 years and then divorced, and, told me that she had never had, um, she doesn't know if she's ever had an orgasm. And she actually asked me to clarify what an orgasm is like so she could say whether or not she's had one. She's like, is that kind of like when you kind of feel your legs shaky and your body's like, warm? And I was like, yeah, it's like a huge pleasure rush. And then also, one of my really, really, really close friends told me, and the same thing, after she went through a divorce, she was like, I've never ever had an orgasm through a sexual encounter. And I asked her, I was like, did you masturbate like as a kid? Do you masturbate now? She was like, no, not really. And I was like, are you sure you've ever had an orgasm? And like, she was quiet for a little bit. And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, wow. It like blew my, I feel like almost bad about how my response was because I was like, what? I was like, are you sure? And I was like, no. Are you sure? I was like, do you just mean through sex? Like, she's like, no, I don't think I ever have. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, here, let's go, like, I don't know, like let's go to like get like a vibrator or something. But then I was like, don't get addicted to a vibrator, like just learn how to use your fingers first. And I was like, I didn't even know where to begin because I was like, God, no wonder I can just see that you were always so disconnected with your sex life with him. And it's like, if you're not getting any pleasure out of it, then why are you having sex? Then you're literally just an object, I mean, it's like, it's so life changing. So anyway, yeah, so it sounds like Buck Angel here is in that latter group where it was like she didn't realize the purpose of her clitoris or the purpose of her vagina, especially if she wasn't interested maybe in having children or biological children or whatever. It's like, well, then what's the purpose of it? Especially if you're not, it's like, what am I, just a receptacle? Am I just a cum dumpster? Am I just a pocket pussy? Vagina literally means sheath. It literally means like the thing, like the sword holder. So what? We're just something to insert something in, just something to be used. Like if you are not connected with your own experience of pleasure, then it seems like the only purpose of your vagina is for other people to use for their pleasure, and then maybe for a baby to eventually come out of. But then there's no person. I can totally, like, of course, then it would be so hard to see the value, especially if you don't want either of those two things. I don't know. It's like, to me, it was so personally, like, just heartbreaking. And then it's heartbreaking to, it's like, part of me has, like, some compassion for her because it's like, I can see that this was such a monumental, like, moment. And it's so sad that maybe she didn't have the privacy, or I don't know. I don't know why I figured out how to orgasm at such a young age. I don't know. From what I can remember, it was just me in the bathtub and there was like the water running and I was just like rolling around. I don't know, and I don't know how that was able to happen to me and then not other women, or was it because I had privacy in the bathtub and I had space to do it and because I had my own bedroom? I don't know. And I don't know how some women can go their whole lives. It's like, on the one hand, I felt weird because I was so young. And then it's like, on the other hand, some women can go like their whole lives and not experience an orgasm until they're 40 or probably never. And if you can see how much that fact alone, having never experienced true vaginal pleasure, even solo, especially solo, because I don't think that we can ever truly have fulfilling partner sex until we have fulfilling solo sex. And she'd never experienced that. And you can see it's like it's just written all over her. And again, this is why I say, they say, oh, gender and sexuality are two separate things. No, the fuck it's not. No, it's all intertwined. It's all intertwined. And you can see that so much of how she manifested, has something to do with that. And she's going to tell us that that's the case.
Partner at the time, and I wasn't really with anybody, and I was really nervous to share sexual experiences with other people, specifically cisgender people, because I wasn't sure how they were going to react to my body. Again, we didn't have the internet. Again, we didn't have any visual places to show our bodies. So I was kind of really alone in that space, and it was not fun for me at all because I already was a very highly sexually charged person prior.
Listen, Abel, listen, if this is uncomfortable, then that's okay. You can dip out of the chat. But this is no, stuff clearly has to be talked about because there's a reason why, like I said, women are so okay with mutilating their bodies. And if that's uncomfortable for you, then I totally respect you dipping out of this chat. There People are not having these conversations with women. They're not getting it from their mothers anymore. We used to give birth in the home. Children, girls, boys, young women used to grow up around watching their sisters, their mothers, their aunts giving birth in the home. Okay? We grew up with a community of women, a network of women, fabrics of women, a family where we could discuss these things and learn about these things and come of age. Now we have people like Buck Angel to learn from. You want to know where people are learning about sex and anatomy and physiology? They're learning about it from Pornhub. They're learning about it from their porn-addicted boyfriends. So, no, that's okay. This now has to be discussed. Women have to understand what's normal, what's okay. Otherwise, this is why we have a generation of women who are looking to mutilate their bodies both chemically and surgically. What isn't discussed, the information is going to be attained somewhere. They're going to get it from Pornhub. It's everywhere. We need to allow women to have healthy, woman-centered spaces to learn about their own bodies. I'm not saying like I'm, the big one to do it, but this conversation, had somebody had this conversation with her fucking years ago, this probably would have been a huge, majorly different outcome for this woman and for a lot of women. A lot of women who are stuck in these marriages where they're just these passive objects. And it's painful, it's sad, it's awful. It's awful. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm putting too much of an emphasis. It just seems like men are able to put such a huge emphasis and such a huge importance on their sexual pleasure, whereas girls can't even mention it. I remember growing up in high school and boys would always joke about jerking off and, oh, it's jerking off, da 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 da. We're gonna go like this and stuff like that. Girl, I've never heard a girl mention masturbating, ever. In high school? Fuck no. Everybody be like, nah. And I remember one time, like, boys had, like, said something, like, oh, well, don't you guys masturbate or something? I just remember everyone getting, like, real, like, tense and, like, quiet and, like, why is it okay? Why can't all of you guys talk about it then? Why is it's like, female pleasure is so irrelevant. Ask any woman whether or not she's had a sexual experience where the man actually made sure that she had an orgasm before the thing was over. We don't want to be used anymore. We don't want to be a passive sex object for somebody else. That's not how you build healthy, loving, positive, fulfilling sexual experiences. That's how you have sexual experiences that begin to drain you spiritually, emotionally, physically. That's sad to me. So and I'm sorry if this is really uncomfortable for some people, then like I get that. That's totally cool. But I'm going to keep having the conversation. I think it's really necessary because look, or else you're going to turn into looking like fucking Popeye over here. No, that shit is like, it's out of control. It's sad, yo.
which was already difficult to navigate. So now here I am becoming a man and trying to navigate my own body was so difficult. So I said, I'm going to masturbate. I don't care. I just can't help myself. So I started to masturbate secretly without telling anybody because I felt so ashamed to touch my vagina. I felt so ashamed to touch this part of my body that the world kept telling me is not masculine, is not male. Even my own community back in the day, the community, as I started to find and see and read about, were all telling me the same thing. You have to have a penis in order to have a sex change. But I chose not to take that route. For many reasons I chose. We'll get into that in another.
No, 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 no. You were told that you have to have a penis to be able to be, masculine and get these tribal tats and do all this stuff and to just be who you wanted to be. That's what you really believed. That was the big problem. That's why you didn't want to touch yourself. You to really, like the things that you liked and to be who you wanted to be and to be attracted to who you were attracted to, you had to be a man. That's the real problem. That's why you didn't want to touch yourself. That was the confusion. That was the lie that you were told. And I'm so sorry that you were told that lie. I really am. It's like part of me wants to have compassion for her. I genuinely do. But then part of me is just so disgusted and angry at just how selfish and opportunistic she is and using this as a way to capitalize off of this sort of like sideshow. I'm the man with the vagina. Like, come on, yo. Come on, bro. Like,
their discussion. But that said, I chose to keep my vagina, which meant that I had to learn to like my vagina. And I had to learn to use my vagina. And I had to learn to get out of this shame and intolerance that I had taught myself around my own vagina. I taught myself that because the world kept telling me, you can never be a man with a vagina. And I just didn't believe that.
No, you know what the thing is? He says if Buck is so sexual, that's probably part of why she wanted to become a man, because we have the idea and only a man can express that. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Only a man can be, yes, assertive. Only a man can, really enjoy sex. Only a man, it's for women who don't want to just be a passive sex object and just receptive and take what is just get done to you. Yeah. If you believe that, then yeah, I can understand wanting to now have a penis too. Well, let me be in control. I don't want to just be this, like, it's almost like victimizing. And like, and it's weird. One of the things that I feel like always comes back in my head is Andrea Dworkin saying that penetrative sex with a man is akin to rape. And at first I was like, oh, that, like, what the fuck? That's just so bullshit and da da da. And but you know what though? And I feel like I've meditated on that statement for so long now, and and even thinking back to some of my own earlier sexual experiences, I get it. I'm very lucky that like my first boyfriend, my first sexual experience was somebody that I was with for 5 years, and they were very loving towards me and very accommodating towards me and really like developed with me sexually. And it's like, I think after I broke up with him and then like tried dating, I realized how bad it is out there and how cruel. And I was so grateful that that wasn't my first experience with a sexual relationship. I had a very loving first sexual relationship. And that was the person that I lost my virginity to. His family loved me, my family loved him. He was very patient with me. He was very kind towards me. He was very considerate of my feelings, as a human being, sexually, all of it. And then it was like I came out of the world and I like tried dating other people kind of under the guise thinking that like all men would have the same sort of care and compassion. That is clearly not the truth. And so I can understand that I've had sex that sounds very much like what she's saying. It's almost like you're just one of the sex toys that Miss Angel here sells is like a masturbation seat. It's like a little it's like a cone that you like I actually don't know. I don't know how it works, to be honest. I have no idea. Um, but it's, and if you guys have ever seen those like silicone pocket pussies, those like vaginas that they model, I think even Miss Angel here has them. That's what you feel like. You feel like you're just that. Like like really, if they had just cut your arms, legs, and torso and head off and just handed over your vagina to him, then that would have been just as good as you being there because you, the person, are irrelevant. Clearly, in that exchange, the only thing that matters is just the hole that you have. And now it's like you can almost understand how some of these trans identified females call it a front hole. Because that's really like all it's been treated as. It's just a hole for people to just come and use and enter. And that does feel like rape. I understand that. That's horrifying. It's sad. And then it's like, it almost, I just feel like Buck Angel here, it's like for as, she's talking about, oh, like pro sex and sex positive and da 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 da. It's like she had this experience that felt so good, but I also think she talks about how then she like masturbated like nonstop after that. And I think she also got very porn addicted. And I could see from just the video that I watched, it was so performative. It was so she didn't I don't know how anybody can have sex with somebody that they don't know and don't love. I've done it before. It made me want to fucking cry. Um, you can just see that there's just no relationship there. There's no nothing. They're both like avoiding looking at each other, and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," ew, ew, with like the smoker's voice and making these like weird sounds, and it's like it was so sad, and it was just this mutual masturbation, just like using each other as like objects. You might as well cut each other's heads off because the person doesn't matter. You're just using each other's bodies in just a way that felt so vulgar and sad. And it's like, and it's like, sex can be this really reinforcing thing because of all the like, endorphins that are released and the dopamine and the oxytocin and all that sort of stuff. So it can be this kind of like Pavlov's dog. But it's like then, and then you add porn to it, and then it just becomes like an addiction. And it's no longer this like climax of a beautiful conversation with somebody. It's this thing that we're just like trying to get to, just trying to get to. It's oh God, the video was just awful.
I just didn't feel that because I did feel like a man and I do feel like a man. Whatever that means, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, what does that mean, Buck? No, because that's actually pretty relevant here. I know that you're kind of like dismissing it. What does that mean? Do only men get to be? Another thing that I saw, God, I'm really sorry. Listen, when I post this, I'll put like a warning label because some of this stuff is really graphic. I just think it's really important that we talk about personally. One of the videos that is because listen, these young trans-identified kids, when you have the problem is she's not just on Pornhub. Okay, she's all over Twitter. She's talking to kids and she's saying, hey, come learn about sex from my sex videos. Her videos are fucking horrifying. It was one where she was like trying to act like a man with this guy and be like, yeah, like give me head, like da 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 da, and like trying to be like, and I've seen other trans-identified females do that where they'll like I saw this one trans-identified female have another female, and I was watching a couple of these videos, and like she was like trying to be like real degrading to the woman. It's like, I guess that's what being a man is. I guess being a man, to validate yourself as a man, is to be super degrading to your female partner, your feminine presenting female partner. Degrade the shit out of her. Be real controlling. He's like, yeah, like suck that dick, baby. And oh my God, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And part of what reinforces this shit too is that they're making a lot of money off of this because there's like the sideshow factor to it. It's like a little, it's like it's like a sideshow freak kind of like thing. And it's like, oh, cool, look at this woman who's able to be real sexually like, just forward. She's able to say what she wants, but yeah, baby, like give me that. We don't see that from women. We don't see like yeah, daddy, like, what oh God, whatever. And it was like, wow, so I guess being a man is to be sexually in control, to be able to center your pleasure. Because again, whenever Buck is with a man, so Buck has sex videos with men and women. When Buck is with a man, the man's pleasure is centered. It's she's bending over backwards. She's doing all this stuff like giving him fellatio, jumping around, moaning while he's just laying there. But she doesn't act that way when she's with a woman. When she's with a woman, then she gets to take on the her pleasure is centered. But it's not just her pleasure as a woman, it's her pleasure as a man. Oh yeah, baby, like, suck it. Yeah, yeah. Like real just like vulgar, real degrading, grabbing the back of the girl's head. And if this is the sort of sexual encounters that our girls are going to be watching, it's you get two options. You're either the degraded sex object who your pleasure is so irrelevant, it's irrelevant in real life, but it's even more irrelevant in this Pornhub world, or you get to be the man who's real in control and who gets to actually have climax at the end. And the whole thing is centered around not the conversation between two people who love and know each other and who want to experience each other in this beautiful physical higher vibration experience, but it's we're all trying to get to one goal, and it's for someone to climax. And who? It's always the man. So when she gets to play the man role, she gets to center her pleasure once again. This is what girls are learning. This is what they're learning about their pleasure. Only men get to have their pleasure centered. Unless you're a trans-identified man, and then you get to use other girls to center your pleasure. You can't. Men still know the deal. Real men, biological men, they still get their pleasure centered. But if you're with a female, then you can play the male role. Then you get to be the one who's degrading her. Then you get to be the one who gets to orgasm and climax. And the whole video is structured around your pleasure. That's what women are being told. That's what these young girls are learning about, how valuable their pleasure is in these fucking experiences.
But whatever that means, I did feel masculine in my body with my vagina, but I still felt shamed. So I started to masturbate, and I started to masturbate, and I started to masturbate, and I started to masturbate all the time. And I started to be amazed at this feeling that I was getting by touching my vagina and having orgasms. And I was using vibrators, and I was not penetrating myself. That was a whole other level of sex for me. And
this is why I do think it's important for young female girls to experience orgasm. Because I think, here's the thing, when female sexuality is allowed to develop naturally without being shamed, the way that it naturally develops is that first, female children explore their bodies. They learn about orgasm. And there is so much, what I know, and even scientifically, masturbating is almost necessary to be able to have a penetrative orgasm. If you don't masturbate, it is very difficult and much more rare to have an orgasm during sex. Now, there are some women, I think they just can't climax at all. But I also think that a lot of it has to do with women not priming their bodies and not knowing their bodies, not exploring their own pleasure bodies first. And I think that there's something really powerful about young female, whether young women or even while they're still minors, to explore their own sexuality as a solo thing, totally solo. That their sexuality is just them and themselves. And the only thing that matters is their own pleasure. The only thing that matters is their own comfort, their own feelings, themselves. And they're not performing for anybody. It doesn't matter what they look like. They don't have to be hyper fixated on if their genitalia is pretty or what sounds they're making. It's purely about centering the self first. And I think that when we cut girls off from this crucial phase of development, this crucial time of just self-learning in a protected, highly, rigorously boundaried space that no one can trespass against, where she knows that she has strong boundaries around herself and it's just her and herself, No one's going to look on. No one's going to know. No one's going to anything. That is such a crucial time of self-discovery and self-learning, where you learn that you're more than just a sex object. You learn that you're more than just a receptacle. You're more than just a seed. You have it's just I don't know, it's so sad to me. I just think how many like women that I know who really have just been brainwashed into believing that their own pleasure is just so irrelevant, that the whole purpose of sex is just to, please somebody else, and it's what's fucking with us. It's what's fucked with Buck Angel here.
I wasn't comfortable being penetrated as a man, and I wasn't comfortable even being penetrated as a woman. But as a man, I was just not comfortable being there. The other thing that started to happen to me,
because being penetrated is being degraded. Because what we see in porn, that being penetrated is being passive, is being an object, is being just this thing. You're not in control. You don't get any say. You just lay there and you fucking take it. Because that's what we see. That's when an entire generation who's being socialized sexually off porn, that's what they learn. Is that as a woman, to be penetrated is just to be an object. Just some thing. And of course, that's a difficult thing to reconcile. And you think that the only way to escape that is to literally become a man. No, we deserve so much more than that.
Was feelings towards cisgender men or other men. And that was a whole other thing that was laid on top of me even connecting to my body sexually. So as I started to masturbate, one day I was just super horny and masturbating, and my fingers did go inside of...
He's talking to children, FYI. He's talking to children. He's specifically saying, hey, kids. He might as well like be wearing a bear suit and like do a little like dance and like, go through like the colors and the ABCs first. That's who he's talking about. So, hey, Buck, if you're listening to this, when I said you were a groomer, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. Your relationship with your sexuality is not healthy. It is extremely disturbing. It is extremely fractured. And it would be so wonderful if you could work on that privately and stop trying to sell that as being sex positive. You are addicted to porn. That much is clear. You are addicted to masturbating. That much is also clear. It would be wonderful if you could rectify that over there, away from our children. Stop peddling this as desirable to girls. It's not. This is dangerous. This is very dangerous.
My vagina. And I had an orgasm that blew the top off of my head. And I saw God and I saw sparks. And I just could not even believe that I cried. I actually cried from that orgasm because I had never felt anything like that in my life. And when I felt that orgasm, I knew at that moment that I did not need to get rid of my vagina. This is why I've become so entrenched in trans male sexual wellness. I believe that it is a key to creating a beautiful space that connects your mind to your body. I believe sex is a way that you can connect to other people.
And that's another thing, other people. Another thing that I have like a huge problem with, I actually got to go in a little bit. We'll keep this going. But another thing that I have a huge problem with this whole like pansexual and like omnisexual and all these sexualities, it's like, why do you need to be attracted to everything and anyone and anything? How many people are you planning on having sex with? And again, this isn't about like, I just think that like Sex is not for everybody. Sex is not going on a date. Sex is not shaking someone's hand. Women and men respond chemically to sex very differently than each other. Okay, so when a man orgasms, his body releases dopamine, and dopamine is, it's like a conditioning mechanism to tell you to do it again. So when you take a bite of food that's good, right, and that has what you need in it, your body will release dopamine to tell you, eat this again, this is good. Same thing with working out, whatever. It's like a natural training mechanism. Women, when they orgasm, their body releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone. It's the same hormone that is released when you breastfeed, or when you give someone a hug, or when you fall in love. That is really early on. Hold on for 1 second. Hold on, guys. So the fact of the matter is that women, this whole thing, women trying to keep up with men sexually and just have a bunch of sex, you have to understand men can have 100 women pregnant at the same time. Men make millions of gametes across their life. They will continue with spermatogenesis, make more and more and more and more, just spray it everywhere. And they don't have to sacrifice anything else other than that one sperm if they choose not to and if they can get away with it. Every single ova that a woman produces that has the potential to be fertilized is a massive sacrifice on the woman. No woman can reproduce without a massive sacrifice, whereas men can reproduce without massive sacrifice. Which is why women can't keep up with men and this whole sort of free sex, and now that we have birth control, we can't. We are literally wired to bond with our partner in a way that men aren't necessarily. That's why women are harmed through a bunch of casual sex, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you think that I can just sleep with whoever, I don't care. The fact of the matter is our brains are primed because before birth control and before abortion and all these things, every single sexual encounter had the ability to result in a pregnancy and in a live birth. And it would be very maladaptive to just be having them with anybody. You want to make sure that what it does to motivate when a woman is, chemically bonded to the man that she's sleeping with, what it does is it encourages her to pursue a relationship with him and to stay close to him in case that copulation results in a pregnancy. So that she's not going around and then sleeping with somebody the next day and the next day and the next day and winds up pregnant, has no idea by who. Again, a lot of this is evolutionary. So when we sell women the idea that casual sex and, I'm pansexual, I just have sex with anybody and I'm attracted to everybody, is really harmful to women. It can be really, really harmful to women. All right, we'll listen to one more thing and then we'll do a part 2 on this. Okay. All right, guys. And I didn't mean for this to be like super deep. I just think that there's just a lot. There's so much of this is so rooted in just really traumatized women who are sexually traumatized. And it's like, yeah, we can say, this big solution is to just divorce ourselves from our sexuality and to be, politically celibate and all this sort of stuff. And I know that some people really agree with that route. And I'm not here to say that that's just not viable. I think it is viable for some people. I just think that if we're not giving women a healthy or reasonable alternative to either these extremes of just totally pornified casual sex, just male dominated, real impersonal sexuality, or this really hardcore, celibacy, then the chances are they're going to get caught back up into this Pornhub world of people, on Tinder. Just it's like a drive through of just fucking each other and then just going to the next. And it hurts women. It hurts us on so many levels.
I believe sex is a way to learn to love yourself. I learned to love myself through connecting to my vagina.
Did you learn to love yourself enough to stop poisoning yourself with testosterone? Buck?
Today we have so much more information. We have pornography. We have lots of other guys putting themselves out there, talking about their vaginas. Now a man with a vagina is kind of like just a normal thing.
And no. First of all, no, it's not. It's not normal at all. Like, keep deluding yourself. But he's literally advocating for children to learn about sex and sexuality through porn. Keep that in mind. That's what he's telling kids. I mean, sorry, that's what she's telling kids.
Back in the day, it was not a normal thing. Again, I need to reiterate that to you kids. We didn't always, and we weren't always able to connect to our bodies, and everyone shared it, and everyone thought it was okay. You don't need to have shame, kids. You don't have to have shame around your bodies, around your vagina, if you choose to keep your vagina like I did. You do not have to feel lesser than anybody else. I don't. Why would you?
You clearly do, because you still masquerade as a man and call yourself a trampa. You still do, Buck. If you believed anything that you were saying, you would rectify and make peace with the fact that you're a woman. You would stop lying to these young girls and telling them that they can own their sexuality and own themselves if they too just become a man. What is the big admission is that, oh, you actually don't need the phalloplasty. It's all good. Stop lying to kids. Get the fuck off of social media. Get off of social media. Stop targeting children. You want to keep making degeneracy? Stay on Pornhub. Stay the fuck off Twitter. Stay the fuck off Instagram. Stay the fuck off YouTube. Stop. You are dangerous. You have no business speaking to children. Ever. Ever. I watched how you have sex. I'm disgusted to say that. And I can assure you, you do not look very comfortable in your body. It was the most awkward shit I've ever seen in my life. It made me want to fucking cry. Because it's just so sad that people can have such meaningless, empty sex. To me, it's just such a transgression against the body. Because I know how sacred and beautiful sex can be. And I know how precious it is. And watching whatever the fuck it was that you were doing with that man was heartbreaking. Did not look empowered. It looked fucking sad. He wouldn't even look at you. You wouldn't even look at him. It was, what the fuck was going on? And you're telling kids to come watch you. Enough. Enough.
I feel no way lesser than you, or lesser than the guy who has a penis, or lesser than the trans man who chooses to have bottom surgery. I do not. I feel so grounded and so focused, and I'm going to tell you, it's all because I masturbate and I have sex. This might not be for you, and that is okay, but I'm talking to you.
No, honey, no. You are not happy and comfortable with yourself because you have sex. Every time that you have sex with somebody, and also the masturbation that you're doing sounds very compulsive and obsessive and porn induced. Masturbation is very critical to a healthy female sexuality, but when you're doing it compulsively and dumping porn into your brain, you're kind of undoing all of that connection, that body connection. And then when you go and you throw yourself away onto some stranger that you perform for, you're undoing all of it. And you're hurting the kids that you're selling this to, for fuck's sake.
To you kids out there who are thinking about sexually gratifying your body or feeling sexual in your body but not sure how to do it. You know, I created these toys specifically for this. I created the Buck Off and I created the Kiss X. These actually help you. I did this for a reason.
Okay, listen, I do not be like super TMI, okay? Does anybody with a clitoris know how this could potentially work? Even imagining that your clitoris was a little bit bigger. Can anyone raise their hand? I don't. I'm looking at that thing. It looks like the Kong that I use for my dog that you fill up with like dog treats and that you throw. It looks like a menstrual cup. How any woman is masturbating with this thing is beyond me. And listen, I did my time. I'm not looking up any more videos, at least not for a while, because I'm still like traumatized from watching her. But can anyone even take a guess how these things work? Because I can't.
Reason. These help you to masturbate on your vagina without touching your vagina. It's a real thing. You don't ever have to touch it if you don't want to, because this enables you to stick over top of your vagina and masturbate. However you need to do it. This is a smaller one for kids and people who are not using testosterone or have a smaller pre-T or just starting T. This is a smaller one for you.
Did anybody, like literally, can anyone even guess how this thing works?
Clitoris. And this is bigger, my signature toy, but it really helps people who have a larger, enlarged clitoris. This is for a smaller clitoris. It's pretty self-explanatory, kids. You just stick it on,
No, it's not.
move around like this. I created a penis head.
It's not
so just in case you
self-explanatory.
really need to have that feeling of masculinity, you have it there. You have products now, kids. I'm not the only one creating products. There's a lot of companies creating products. One of the things I also created was lubrication. Lubrication also helps you.
Yeah, which you're definitely going to need a shitload of. You should have made that thing like a gallon size. You need a shitload more if you're on testosterone. You're not going to be self-lubricating.
You feel comfortable in your body. So, kids, here's what I want to tell you. Sex is important. No matter what you think, if you're choosing abstinence, that's a different story, and that's something over there. But if you are choosing to want to connect to your body sexually, please do it. Do not feel shame around it. You should never feel shame around your own body. Your own body. You should never feel shame.
Yeah, yeah. How about instead of applying that to your weird porn products, apply that to your bullshit gender ideology. There should be no shame around your own body, your body. Stop fucking it up with poisons and surgery. Kids. Ugh. Like Christ.
Shame around touching yourself, and you should never feel shame around wanting to have sex with other people.
No,
and
my
other
God.
people should never.
No. Just shut up. Shut up. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop it. Listen. I know this sounds so stupid and or just not stupid, but cliche or even corny. Okay, sex really is not something that you throw around, and it harms women when we tell them that they can keep up with the whole casual sex thing. It harms women so much. It is so. Yeah, no, you know what? Maybe Dworkin was right, and she was right. This sort of casual sex where you just lay down and let someone use your body to self masturbate and self pleasure is a type of rape. That is, and it takes a piece of you. Good sex, sacred sex with someone that you love, that is in conversation with somebody precious to you, fills your cup up. Casual, meaningless, this other bullshit sex drains it. These messages are so toxic and they're so sad that this is what these young women, these gender non-conforming women are being told. Girl, women cannot play the same games that boys can play. Boys can literally spread their seed everywhere, and it doesn't emotionally impact them the same way. And that is not misogyny. That's not saying, oh, girls aren't as good as boys. It's that we have a literally different brain chemical reaction because our bodies, we bear the reproductive burden of the species. We always bear a greater burden with sex, which is why we must gatekeep. When we tell women to just give out sex, then all these loser men are just getting sex for nothing. Sex is also one of the greatest tools to weed out weak and bullshit men, and is one of the greatest motivators since the beginning of time to motivate men towards good behavior. It's true. When men are being rewarded with sex for just doing fucking anything and just being bullshit the way that they aren't motivated to change. They can just keep being pieces of shit because they're gonna get fucked anyway. Before it was, well, I wanna work hard and I wanna acquire things and have a home and I wanna dress well and I wanna, I want her parents to like me and I want, the community to see me as somebody worthy so she'll be proud to be seen with me so that maybe, I can earn sex. And it sounds so simplistic and barbaric, but it's just the fact of the matter. And it was a way to keep men in check. Now, bullshit men are getting it no matter what, just for doing nothing. And now they don't even have to try. They don't have to change anything. They can just keep being scumbags. Let's just finish this fucking thing before I vomit.
Never feel shame around wanting to have sex with us. We need to have this conversation at a bigger level. We need to talk about our bodies on a bigger level. And I really believe the transgender community tries to
Oh, Katie and Nick, you're actually, I ended up talking way too long on this, but on the next time I want to show, he did a video with Ariel Sarkella, and he said the exact same thing. So Katie and Nick says, I have heard that some butch lesbians aren't comfortable with their genitals being interacted with by their partners, and they have a whole conversation about that too. Which it's like, I like how he's like, yeah, I mean, sorry. She's like, yeah, as if like, that's not your case entirely, Buck. I like how like just the dissociation where she like is not identifying herself as a butch lesbian. That's what you are. Well, she's bisexual. But yeah, no, and it's like she's talking about, as if she's talking about other people. That's literally what you, that's you. That's what happened to you. You wouldn't want to touch yourself because you felt like and it's even like the forced feminization thing. It's like for these men who want to be women because it's like being reduced to a lower status. It's like, oh, I'll make a woman out of you. I'll break you down. It's like they like being in this like powerless, weak, kind of pathetic position versus to become a man is to take the power, to be the one in control, to be the yeah, babe, and I can just have the, random sex with whoever and I don't give a fuck. Yeah, like, we just getting all the bitches. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's these concepts that to be a woman, to have a vagina, to be sexually receptive is somehow degrading and diminishing and disparaging. Whereas to be, the one with the penis, yeah, yeah, suck my dick, bitch. Yeah, dude, just like, yeah, what's up? Those are the two options that kids are seeing when they watch this kind of stuff.
Desexualize us on many levels. I refuse to be desexualized. I am a sexual being, just like you are. You want to do these things. Don't let anybody, any place, or anything ever shame you out of touching your body. If you need to talk about it, please reach out to me. Put some comments in here. Tell me what you want to talk about. If you need to talk about it with me privately, you're more than welcome to do that. I will make time to do that with you because I really, as you see, am so passionate about sex and our bodies. Let's do this, kids. Let's fucking stop shaming each other. Let's stop shaming our bodies to the...
Okay, listen, shaming has always had an important role in society, and it's to point out maladaptive, destructive, and defective thoughts, behaviors, and characteristics so that we could repair them. Kink shaming is okay when the kinks are dangerous and harmful. there is a place. This whole like zero tolerance for bullying and shaming is what's led to this sort of shit. Yeah, kids. Come on down, kids. Come on with old Grandpa Black will teach you how to use the masturbation thing. Come on, kids. Fuck what your parents say. I'll give you can go home with viral testosterone. Like, gross.
The world. Why do you think people are nervous to even date us? Because we act so victimy and shame.
Why? Because your body, it's like a monstrosity now that you've taken all that testosterone and you've grown weird parts. That's why.
Our own selves that the rest of the world doesn't even want to touch us. I don't blame them, to be honest with you. I personally have no problem getting laid, kids. It's because I'm free. And I want to teach you to be free too. Start celebrating that body. Start
Oh
feeling
my
comfortable in that
God.
body, however your body is. If you choose to have surgery, awesome. If you choose not to, awesome. But if you choose not to have bottom surgery, you cannot deny your vagina happiness. And that's a fact. I love you, kids. Okay, comment for me. Like this shit. Fucking put it out there. I love.
Okay, enough of. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. We get the picture. You guys, like, I need. I want to go. Like, I don't know. I don't drink, but I feel like I need to start drinking. I need to start drinking after that. That was like, I'm gonna become like a raging alcoholic now. I like so regret watching the porn. It'll like scar me for life. Oh my god. No, but yeah, the deformed, Frankenstein body is the one worth celebrating, not, the one that grew naturally. Well, anyway, I'm so sorry, guys. That was traumatic for all of us. I think we're all properly, traumatized. Sorry for the PTSD. Sorry for the TMI. I think some of this stuff needs to be talked about. So I think I'm gonna have this be like an ongoing, be like my ongoing live stream topic, because I think the fact of the matter, we can't hide from the fact that sexuality is at the core and at the root of so much of this gender shit, and the whole idea that they're somehow separate or two distinct things is bullshit. It's all born of our fucked up relationship with our sexuality and our bodies and all this sort of stuff. So, and we'll just keep going through these people one by one and dissect what the fuck messages these kids are getting that are leading them to such bizarre and extreme paths of behavior. This is why this stuff is important to look at, and it's important to really get into the stuff that they're consuming and not just look at it from the outside. And I mean, this is right off of her website or her YouTube channel itself, rather than listening, because I listened to some of her, what's it called, her interviews with other people, and it's like they're all sterilized. No, we need to get like into the belly of the beast and really hear like, the messages that are real deeply into all of the content, and figure out, well, where is this all coming from? And this is a groomer. This is grooming. This is grooming. So anyway, thank you so much for tolerating this with me. Yeah, go drink some like hot water with ginger and lemon. It'll coat the stomach. In case any of you guys feel very ill, I'm gonna go do that. But thanks so much. Yeah, if you guys could hit the likes, thanks, Laurel. I didn't get to keep up with the chat. I'm gonna go back and read a lot of it. I hope like my points are landing. I don't like. I know it's such a complex topic, and I know it's one that a lot of people are really uncomfortable with. And I was just saying, one the two topics I bring up that I like reliably lose followers on is talking about like sexuality, or like motherhood needing to be in feminism. I don't know why that's so controversial. So, I'm sure like I've heard some like really scathing criticisms about like my my takes on some of these things. And like I guess it's fine. I just also think that like my points maybe didn't land or whatever. So I hope that you guys understand why I'm talking about this. And I'm sure I'll just need to continue to develop it. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, that's enough of all that. All right. All right. And I think my next video is probably going to be a Not Our Crimes. I think we haven't had one of those in a while, so we'll try to that's also equally traumatizing. Never mind. My whole channel is just trauma. I'll see you guys later. Bye.